know it's been a long hot minute since I've posted to YouTube, and I've been missing my YouTube content, and I wanted to have a video today about books and my reading for this year. And this video is going to be my top reads for this year and also my least favorite reads for this year. So I just want to preface this video first by saying that I just became a reader at the beginning of 2022. So I got COVID at the beginning of 2022, like right New Year's Day. Yeah, fun times. And then I decided I am bored and I want to start reading because I was stuck at home. So, of course, the first author I read was Colleen Hoover, and then it just picked up from there, and I never stopped reading, and I'm still reading, and now it's an obsession, and I love it. I love that I got back into reading. It is great. I'm gonna do another video with all my reads from 2022, but yeah. For those that don't know, my name is Leah, aka Brielle Marie. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel below, click the notification bell, and let's get into today's video. Let's talk about this is going to be in no particular order, by the way. This is just going to be my top reads for this year. How many books do I have? Some of my favorite reads were Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And a close second to this, at least for this author, is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. But I kind of liked Malibu Rising a little bit better. It took me a while to read this because it was only in the hardback cover, but I really wanted the paperback because I love paperbacks. This book is so good. It's part of her series. It's based in the 80s in Malibu, so that was just kind of a fun time to read about in that period of time in history. And it's about this family. The main girl, her name's Nina Riva, and it's about her family and how they grew up and how they struggled. And their dad was really famous, but he was just like a crap dad, and he was also mentioned in this book as well. This story isn't like a romance or anything. It's really family based. It has so many life lessons that I just truly appreciated, and I loved how strong the main character is, Nina, because she went through so much and she's just so strong. So I really love this book. I highly recommend. It's so good. This book is part of a series, but this whole entire series I absolutely fell in love with, and I am pretty much obsessed with it. There's another one coming out in February next month, and then another one coming out in August, and I love this author. I love her writing, and I just love these. This is a dark romance series. The Never After series by Emily McIntyre. So good. I cannot recommend these enough. My favorite in this series is Scarred. So this was one of my top reads this year as well. But I honestly recommend this entire series. It's so good. These are all kind of retellings of Disney villains. So the first one is Hooked. Obviously you can guess it's like a retelling of Captain Hook and Wendy, and it's dual POV. And it's so good. It's nothing to do with Disney really, but it's like loosely based. I can't say it's a retelling, but it's like loosely based on Peter Pan basically. So there's so much spice in these books. These are so good. But if you don't like dark romances, I don't think you would like them, but I like dark romances, and these aren't that bad. So if you're just getting into it, you might like these, and I think it's a good stepping stone because it's also kind of Disney related, which is dope. And also, look how beautiful these covers are. Just like this one, this cover is so beautiful. Wretched, or is it Wretched? Wretched? I think it's Wretched. Scarred. My fiance got this for me, so this is like, has a special place in my heart for me. It's so good. This is basically loosely based on The Lion King, and it's basically the story of Scar, hence Scarred, the Scarred Prince. The Scarred Prince is actually what they call him, Tristan, and then Sarah B, aka in Lion King, her name's Sarabi, you know, Mufasa's wife. But it's basically their love story, and no, it has nothing to do with animals. Again, it's just loosely based. He's a prince. It's about the Fossa family, and I won't get too much into the details of this, but it's so good, and there's just a lot of good spice in this book as well. And I just started rereading it actually because I'm starting to annotate it, and I just love this one. The last one is Wretched. This is a retelling of Wizard of Oz, basically, or loosely based on the Wizard of Oz. And it's supposed to be Eveline and basically the Tin Man, aka the Wicked Witch and the Tin Man. But it's a retelling. In this book, he is a cop and she is like the criminal. So in this book, she's the villain, which is cool. And this one was also really, really good and I loved it. But this one was my 5-star read for me. These were both 4 stars. Another book that honestly has been in everyone's YouTube videos and all over the internet that blew up that I also fell in love with is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Oh my god, this is like a slow burn romance, so much angst, spice. It's so good. So this story is about this girl named Naomi, and she's a runaway bride. She gets a call from her twin sister, who's basically her evil twin, and she goes to this small town her sister lives in. Her sister is just no good, like she's trash, and she's just not a good person. And come to find out, she comes to help her sister. Her sister does a bunch of mean things and stupid stuff, and Naomi finds out that she actually has a 12-year-old niece. And so the whole story begins with her figuring out how she's going to get away from the husband she was trying to leave because she doesn't want to marry him, and then see what she can do for this niece she didn't even know she had. And then there's also a love story between her and this guy named Knox who lives in the small town. This is like a grumpy sunshine trope. But also one thing I liked about this book was the characters were older. Like they were in, I think Knox was like maybe 40 or early 40s, and she was like in her mid to late 30s. And I liked that because a lot of books, the characters are just so young. So it was nice to read about characters that were just a little bit older and more mature. One of the YA books that I loved this year that was a 5-star for me was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is a trilogy. I've actually only read the first 2 books. I'm waiting for the third one to come out in paperback. It might already be out, but I need to read the third one. The second one I also loved, but the first one is my favorite, and it's so good. It's about this girl named, what was her name? Pip. Yeah, her name's Pip, and she's basically trying to figure out this murder that happened in her town. It was a couple people that died, and she doesn't believe the story that the town told her, and she wants to get to the bottom of it. And it starts out with her just being in a project for school, but she gets so into it, like trying to figure out what really happened. And you get so sucked into the story, like I couldn't put it down because I just wanted to know what was going to happen next, because you're like solving the murder with her, and it's exciting. It was a really good book. There's also a side romance in here between her and this other character, and it's honestly it's really good. It really sucks you in, so I highly recommend this series, and I can't wait to read the third one as well. This series, everyone talks about this year, but for a good reason, and I think it lives up to the hype, and that is the Twisted series. I am entirely obsessed with this series. I'm obsessed with Anna Huang's writing. Also, I have the special edition covers, and they are freaking beautiful. I love these covers. They're so pretty. I don't like covers with like people on them. I just think it looks cheesy and not cute. But these are so pretty. I love like aesthetically pleasing covers, and I love that they're all different colors. They're so pretty. So this series basically is about a group of friends, 4 different girls that were friends in college, and it goes about their life, and they're all different love stories, so they're basically interconnected standalones. So I would suggest reading them in order. Twisted Love, Twisted Games, which I loved. Twisted Hate and Twisted Lies is my absolute favorite. Twisted Lies, this follows Stella and Christian's story, and I don't want to give too much away, but I highly recommend you reading this series if you haven't already. They're such good romance books, and they're really spicy, so if you don't like spicy books or like smutty books, I wouldn't recommend it, but these have a lot of smutty scenes in it, and I loved every second of it. Yeah, I did. And I think honestly, a lot of people said that Twisted Hate was their favorite, but Twisted Hate is like my least favorite in the series. I don't know why. And these just look so pretty on your bookshelf. I just love it. Punk 57. I love this book. This book has mixed feelings for a lot of people. Some people either love it or they hate it, and I'm on the loving it side. It's really more of a bully romance, and not all of Penelope Douglas's books are for everybody, but this one is Dual Point of View. I got really sucked into this book and I just love it. I get why some people don't like it, because sometimes there's things like the male character does that pisses you off and we're like, I hate him, but it's also like it's fiction and it's entertaining. So I like reading books that are entertaining, and this was really good to me, and this was one of my 5-star reads this year. Terms and Conditions. This was a 5-star read for me. This is about Declan and Iris. This is also Grumpy Sunshine. It's forced proximity trope. It's also like marriage of convenience trope. And it was super good. This is also dual POV. I love this book. The first book I also loved, which is called The Fine Print. And the third book I haven't read yet. I don't think it's out yet, actually. Part of the Dreamland Billionaire series. And it's basically just think of like Disney World, but it's Dreamland. So like the knockoff Disney World, sure, whatever. She couldn't actually use Disney World in the book. But it's basically these 3 brothers. Their grandfather, who owned Dreamland, passed away, and he basically wrote in his will things that he wanted them to do specifically, and he wrote each of them separate letters. And Declan, he has to get married and he has to have a child to basically start a family. And this love story between Declan and Iris is just so good. Declan is white, so it's about an interracial couple, and I did appreciate that because I am personally in an interracial relationship as well. So good. I highly recommend. I really like smelling my books. Does anyone else do this? Me? No, I know other people do this. The last book series that I want to talk about in this video is the Off-Campus series. I fell in love with this series. These are hockey romances. Basically, these are about college hockey romances, but shout out to The Deal. I know this is everyone's favorite. I know you're probably sick of everyone talking about it, but this book was so relatable to me. Like, I related to Hannah, the main girl character, and then I just love the main guy character in this, Garrett Graham, and just their love story. And it's just like these are my comfort reads this year. Like, I have my dark romances, my more serious books, but these are like all my comfort reads. Like, they made me feel so good. They're just very comfort, like fall reads. Like, these are great books to read in the fall, in my opinion. But The Deal was my absolute favorite, and then The Score I also loved. There was something that happened in this book, like that happened to a character. It made me so sad. So yeah, because I went into all these books blindly. Like, I didn't want to know much about them going into them. And I think that's kind of the best way to go into books, because it doesn't spoil anything. You don't have anything hyped up in your mind. So yeah, I love this series. It's just all so good. The first one is The Deal. It's about Garrett Graham and Hannah. Hannah is like a singer, and that was relatable to me because I'm a singer. And it's about basically all of these hockey players that go to the same college, and they also are roommates. And each book is about a different couple. So they're like interconnected standalones again, but you should read them in order. So it's first The Deal, The Mistake, and then The Score, The Goal, and The Legacy. The Legacy is kind of just like the Hey, Where Are You Now novel, and it has all 4 couples in here, just kind of closing out the whole series. And it's so good. The Deal is my favorite. This is a 5-star series for me as well, but The Deal specifically was 5 stars and is my favorite, and I highly recommend. Speaking of sports romances, I also have to talk about From Lugoff with Love by Mariana Zapata. This is the first Mariana Zapata book I've read, and actually the only book I've read so far. I want to read more of her books. They are really chunky, and this book was so good. I can't even describe it. It's about these 2 figure skaters. Ivan Lugoff is the main character, the guy, and then what's the girl's name? Jasmine Santos. And they're both figure skaters, and it's basically like grumpy, because both characters are grumpy. And Mariana Zapata is known for her slow burns. Like, I'm talking about the characters don't get together till like the last chapter of the book. And this book is like 500 pages. So just know that going in. But honestly, the book kept me so entertained. Like, there was so much like angst, and there's forced proximity, and it was just so good. I loved their story, and Jasmine is like a really strong female character. This book I absolutely loved. If you like sports romances, I recommend this one so much, but also beware that this is a very, very slow burn. But nevertheless, I love this one so much. 5 stars. Also, speaking about sports romances, Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I fell in love with this book. This is another like feel-good book. There's also a lot of drama that happens, but it was so good. It's about a hockey player and a figure skater that are in college, and there's a lot of great spice in this book. If you like any spice, there's a bunch of spice. I don't have to wait forever. It's not a slow burn, so I didn't have to wait forever for the romance to actually start. I think this is, it's dual POV, which I love. The main characters are Anastasia and Nathan, or is it Anastasia? I'm not sure. The whole time I was reading it, I was pronouncing her name as Anastasia, because like the makeup company, Anastasia Beverly Hills, that's how you say it. So I was just like, oh, Anastasia. Yeah, but maybe that's wrong. I don't know. It was like a feel-good romance, but there's also a lot of deep topics in here, and I really like how it discussed like different forms of abuse. Like, not to give any spoilers away, but it wasn't even directly abuse that was discussed, but like indirectly there was abuse. Not physical abuse maybe, but like there's other forms of abuse, and I really like how this book touched on that topic. And honestly, this book cover is so cute, and I love the pink spine. It's just such a pretty, cute cover. I love it, and I love velvet textures of book. That's my absolute favorite, when the book is velvety, and oh, I love that texture of the paperback books. So good. This book is honestly kind of a combination of From Lugoff with Love and The Deal. Kind of if you combine these, because figure skaters, hockey players, like the girl from Icebreaker kind of reminded me of the girl from Lugoff with Love, because she was also kind of grumpy, and this girl's grumpy, and they're both figure skaters. But then the guy from this book, Nathan Hawkins, he kind of reminded me of Garrett Graham. So it's like, and they're both like the hockey players for their team. They're the star hockey players. I actually liked Icebreaker a little bit more than The Deal, but I love this book too. But this book, I am so excited for the rest of the series to come out, because this one was top notch. 5 stars. If you haven't read this already, definitely pick this one up. Darling Venom. This was a 5-star read for me. This was so good. I can't stop thinking about this book, to be honest. This is a very serious, like, deep topic book, because it discusses suicide. Just know that going in, because there's almost like 2 love stories that happens in this book, and it's like it says on the front, like, my first love ended with tragedy, my second began with his brother. So that just kind of tells you right off the bat what the book is about. This is like dual POV. It's also age gap romance. It's also like, it's kind of grumpy sunshine, but again, it also deals with harsh topics like suicide. And I also just really love the cover of this book. This book talks a lot about grief, and I appreciated that, like, everyone grieves differently. Both characters are grieving in this book. Really would recommend picking this up. It's by Parker S. Huntington. I really can't stop thinking about this book, so it's so good. Last but not least, as far as my favorite books of 2022, are my Colleen Hoover books. It Ends With Us and Ugly Love. These are both 5 stars for me. Not really a shocker, because everyone freaking loves these books, and everyone and their freaking mother has read It Ends With Us this year. I actually just read It Starts With Us, but I read that at the beginning of January, so I'm not including that in this video. But I read a ton of Colleen Hoover books this year, but these ones are by far my favorite. Also Verity, I really loved that one too. I love all of them, but like, these are my top favorite. All of Colleen Hoover books, if you don't know, always have, she kind of gets straight into the plot, into the book, into the romance, and you kind of figure out what's going on right away. Like, her books are really easy to read, so if you're like in a reading slump, I would honestly recommend picking up a Colleen Hoover book, because her books are just really easy to get through, and I can always get through them really quickly. But there's also just like, there's always like life lessons in her book. There's always a crazy plot twist that happens, and they're just so good. This one, yeah, again, has a special place in my heart, because it's what got me back into reading. Like, as soon as I read this, I was like, oh my god, I need to pick up way more books to read, because this one it just blew my mind, and it was so good. But like, thinking back, is it my favorite book of all time? No, it's not. But do I love this book nonetheless? Yes, and it was 5 stars for me. But again, not my favorite book of all time. But I do love this book. It Ends With Us this is my favorite Colleen Hoover book, for sure. And the reason I say this, like, this has a special place in my heart. Like, I've read both of these twice. I actually read them twice in 2022. And the second time I read them, I annotated them. But this one just has a lot of good quotes. So this book is about a Lily, and it's only her point of view. So you're basically like in her mind the whole book, and you're rooting for her as a character. This book really dives into the topic of abuse and being in the middle of an abusive situation and not knowing how to go about it. This was very more personal for me because I've been through a similar experience in a different way than what she went through. And it's just ongoing. There's a second book called It Starts With Us, and it's just like, it's ongoing because of how life happens. You know, things in life happen, and I'm not going to give any spoilers away, maybe in another video. If you haven't read this already, you definitely need to pick this up. I hope you love it just as much as I do. 5 stars. So that concludes this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Let me know what type of videos you guys want to see next. I think I'm going to do all the books I read in 2022 coming up, as well as like the books that I have in my TBR and that type of thing. I'll probably actually do some more like vlogs and like probably some fitness related content as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!